If you're familiar with anime, maybe you'll catch this reference. If not, just hang with me for a second. In Attack on Titan, the protagonist, Eren Yeager, loses an arm. But don't worry, because soon after he shifts into his Titan form, and just like that, he has his limb back. Or maybe you're familiar with Deadpool, who, when injured, goes into a hyper-regenerative state and can literally grow his limbs back from a stump. His healing factor is so intense that apparently he can regenerate from a single drop of blood. In Attack on Titan, Deadpool, and countless other stories, regeneration is a superpower. But in clinical reality, well, biology isn't as forgiving. Right now, over 2.3 million people in the US alone live with major limb loss. And when a human loses a limb, we don't get cool Titan steam and regeneration. We get fibrosis. Imagine for a second that you lose an arm. In our current reality, that's a permanent, life-altering event. Your body rushes to close the wound and settles for a patch job. Instead of rebuilding complex tissue, we rush cells in called myofibroblasts and keratinocytes. These dump in disorganized collagen to seal the wound instantly. We trade functionality for speed and end up with scarring that we can't grow around. But say you were an axolotl, and yes, that smiling little salamander, you wouldn't just scar. You'd regrow the entire limb. Bone, muscle, nerves, skin, perfect anatomical fidelity. No scars, just basically a brand new arm. For decades, we could only chalk it up to some kind of weird nature magic, but new research suggests that it's actually a biological software issue. What's crazy is that we might actually have that software hidden in our own DNA, we just forgot the password. So let's get into it. So why can't we do this? Why can't we regrow an arm? Well, it comes down to an evolutionary trade-off. Humans live on dry land, full of pathogens. If we get hurt, our body needs to act fast. We need to close the wound quickly, and our body dumps in a bunch of collagen to patch the job up and prevent infection as fast as possible. But the axolotl can take its time. Instead of scarring over with a fibrous patch, it forms what is called a blastema. The blastema is kind of the holy grail of regenerative medicine. It's a little blob of cells at an amputation site that doesn't just heal the wound, but is the thing that regenerates the whole missing limb. When an axolotl loses a limb, it's not just a local event. The entire body wakes up. The nervous system sends out a global alert using adrenaline, which you might recognize as the fight or flight chemical. The axolotl repurposes that stress signal to tell stem cells all over the body to get to work. This is what's referred to as systemic activation. This revelation changes everything. It means that if we want to heal humans, we can't just put a band-aid on the stump. We basically have to wake up the whole nervous system. But here's the problem. Even if we can get the cells to grow, how do they know what to grow? How does the body know to build a hand and not a shoulder? How do the cells know where to go in the first place? This is what's referred to as positional identity. And James Monaghan's lab at Northeastern University just cracked the code. It turns out the GPS basically is a molecule called retinoic acid, a signaling molecule that forms a gradient and lays out the blueprints for what goes where. A higher concentration indicates closer to the body, or the development of more proximal structures. Then, as we move further away from the body, the axolotl will kind of shape this gradient using an enzyme called CYP26B1. This enzyme basically eats retinoic acid. So at the wrist, this enzyme will be super active, keeping the signaling low, resulting in the formation of things like hands and digits. They proved this by using a drug called talorozole. This drug blocks the CYP26B1 enzyme, and when they gave it to the axolotl's regenerating a wrist, the retinoic acid levels spiked. As a result, the cells got confused, and they thought they were at the shoulder. So the result, the axolotl grew a whole new arm starting from the wrist. Talorozole is actually being studied as a current treatment for osteoarthritis, which if that's something you're interested in, definitely let me know in the comments below. I can do a video on that too. But what's insane is that this proves that the cells are programmable. If we can tweak the chemical inputs, we can rewrite the biological output. So knowing all this, can humans actually do it? Well, kind of. Humans have a tiny window of opportunity. We already have slight regenerative abilities at the tip of our fingers. No, literally at the tip of our fingers. But this ability is most clearly documented in children, typically under the ages of 10 to 15, and only if the amputation occurs around the P3 bone in the finger, and the wound is treated very carefully. This phenomenon has been studied in more detail in mice. If you look at a mouse, it too can actually regenerate the very tip of its digit, the P3 level, which is its claw. But if you just cut a millimeter below at the P2 level, well, you're out of luck. The bone will truncate and you get a scar. So why the difference? Well, it turns out aging and metabolism are the enemies here. As we get older, our cells shift into a high energy state, running heavily on glycolysis and oxidative phosphorylation. This high energy state creates a hypotonic or low oxygen environment that blocks regeneration. Regenerative engineering combines many sciences, most importantly material sciences and biophysics. Researchers are currently studying something called DECM biomaterials, DEMC being decellularized extracellular matrix. Imagine taking a piece of tissue, scrubbing all the cells off, and then leaving just the structural skeleton behind. Then they implant this ghost tissue that tricks the immune system into a pro-healing state rather than the natural inflammatory one. But of course, we can't just inject salamander juice or simply fill in the space with the ghost tissue. We have to engineer a way around the body's scarring problem. Which leads us to the BioDome. Researchers at Tufts University, led by Michael Levin and David Kaplan, developed a wearable bioreactor to solve this. It's basically a silicone cap that creates a hydration chamber over the wound. Inside, they put a cocktail of 5 specific drugs designed to trigger distinct biological responses. In this concoction, you will find BDNF for nerve growth, which we've talked about in a previous video, growth hormone, retinoic acid, acting as the, of course, chemical GPS, anti-inflammatories, and a drug that mimics a low oxygen environment. They tested this on adult frogs that, like us, cannot normally regenerate legs. They left the BioDome on for just 24 hours, and something pretty crazy happened. That single day of treatment alone kickstarted a process that lasted 18 months. The frogs didn't need constant medication or constant doses of that concoction. They just needed that initial green light to override their scarring default. They successfully grew back legs with bones, nerves, and even toes. They were basically able to reboot our natural biological software and reactivate embryonic programs using genes like Lin28A, which is a developmental timing gene. Now, as cool as this is, there is something I have to add. Unfortunately, we aren't doing this in humans tomorrow. There is a massive risk here. Cancer. A blastema is a rapidly growing mass of undifferentiated cells. That's actually what a tumor happens to be as well. The axolotl has built-in checks to stop growth when the arm is done. We might not. So any therapy we use needs a strictly engineered off switch. While, as I did mention, drugs like talirozole are currently being tested for things like osteoarthritis, full limb regeneration is understandably more complex. But here's the bright side. We used to think that limb regeneration was impossible for mammals. Now we know it's just dormant. We have the machinery, we have the code, we just need to figure out the right chemical keys to turn on the engine without crashing the car. So no, the idea of regeneration is not entirely fictional. It just requires a little bit of engineering and ingenuity. And we're getting closer every single day. Thank you so much for watching, and if you're interested in the research I did for this video, or just confused about what I was talking about because I was all over the place, linked in the description below is a NotebookLM page that has sources to a variety of studies and articles on this topic. Since it's a NotebookLM, you can ask the model questions related to the topics discussed in this video and dive as deep into the subject as you'd like. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment what you think about the state of regenerative engineering or just any other topic you'd like me to cover. I'll see you in the next one.